Welcome to the Back to Square One podcast. And today, if you're listening to this, I would put a disclaimer out there. If you're not into powerlifting, more nichely, more specifically into NZPF Nationals for 2021, I might suggest you tune away because we are going to be talking specifically about the upcoming Nationals. And if you are competing or traveling down to the South Islands, and if you're listening to this on the plane or on the drive down, we appreciate you tuning in. And it's going to be a bit of a weird one. It's more of a recap of the upcoming couple days as we head into another big Nationals. I think 221 entries this year. Paul, Jason.
217.
217.
I think last year was 221.
Last year was 221.
Yeah. So a big turnout.
Yeah, it could have been 218 if Jason Clarke didn't pull out. Just saying.
I wasn't such a pussy.
I know. And unfortunate, of course, some of I would say Viv, shout outs, is unable to attend, obviously due to sort of COVID restrictions and travel restrictions. But it is what it is. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of start off with.
Hey, just to break you up here real quick, my headphones just died. Is that making an odd noise? Like, is it reverberating through my speaker, or are we good?
Not at all.
Fine.
We are good.
Cool, awesome.
Yep. We are all good.
Warehouse headphones.
I know. Well then, I guess we'll hand it off to Jason. Thoughts, day one. We've got a bit of a recap here going on Masters.
Yeah, just before we go, right? Also, we have a special guest, not Jason Clarke, but the
other Clarke,
the other Clarke, the older Clarke, the our one and only NZPF President, Paul. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us and joining your younger brother. So hopefully, between the two of you, there will be some interesting commentaries and just conversations about classes to look out for, exciting matchups, things like that. So take it away.
Cool. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
I know you just want to minimize the last name, so 2 between 4 people is always a good idea.
I mean, we literally have the
two people with the same last
4.
name. True, the Clarks and the Quans.
That's a good point. Our parents would be so proud.
All
right. So before we get stuck into it, we've got, I guess, 2 of the 4 people here competing. How are you guys feeling? How's everyone feeling about the competition? Obviously, down in Invercargill this year, which is a bit of a remote location. I'm assuming a lot of people haven't willingly gone down there in the past. So I know I'm pretty fizz for the whole thing. I like the idea of it being somewhere pretty remote and secluded. And I don't know, what's the vibe with you guys?
I'm pretty excited. I'm looking forward to getting down there and competing and hanging out and spending a week there. We head down on the Monday, so we're down there the whole week.
Yeah, half the Monday flight's going to be full of powerlifters,
basically.
APA chartered flight.
I'm sure the flight will be very, very interesting with all the belts and all the gears on the actual flight. It's probably worth more than your standard domestic flight, I'm sure.
Hey, do you remember last year, Chung?
Hey?
Do you remember last year me trying to get on the plane?
Oh yeah. What a joy.
And in the end, that lady was just like, fuck it, just go on.
The first weigh-in of Nationals last year was you trying to get on the plane.
Yeah, that was a good sneak peek to some of Jason taking on some of Kedrick's secret strategies to water cut to make weight for his flight last year.
Oh yeah. So, anyway, I think it'll be cool. I think people that are apprehensive about it, like being in Invercargill, I think you'll be surprised how much fun it will be when it's in a small place like that, because it really kind of like bands everyone together and everyone kind of just gets stuck into the powerlifting more than anything. Apart from Joel, who's trying to find all these other things to do in Invercargill, but I think the highlight of Invercargill is going to be the powerlifting for this week.
For sure.
I reckon it's the same thing. It's that more people are more likely to hang around and watch the lifting and spend more time, as a group. It'll be real fun.
But I think you'll find like the place itself will be, they're going to be keen to have us down there. I know like some guys have done a pretty good job of securing some funding from a local board and things like that. So that just goes to show their like keenness for us to be down in Invercargill and lifting some tin.
Yeah, it might be the biggest event of the year in Invercargill based on the sound of things. So I mean, not to diss our friends down south. I've never been there. The only other person I've spoke to said that the last time he's been there was 10 years ago. So I guess not much of a reason to be there. But I guess like you said, I think it's about the sport. Who knows, this year we might have the highest show up for our AGM, because there's nothing else better to do.
That is very true.
So I'm definitely looking forward. I mean, I do think it pays, right, to have like the NZPF community as a whole just gather in one place, and yeah, looking forward to this year's nationals for sure.
And it'll be like an Olympic village, but for NZPF in
Yeah.
Invercargill.
Yeah, no, it'll be cool. I think, if you are down there, definitely get amongst it, go and watch and go and support everyone. The venue's looking pretty cool thus far. I had a little look at the map of it, the floor plan, and it looks like it's going to be very good. And I know everyone down in Southern's been working their fucking asses off to get this ready and good to go. So
Hats off to you guys.
Yeah, so it's going to be good. But anyway, without further ado, let's get stuck into it because I can see Chung wanting me to hurry this thing up.
Did I?
No.
I'm actually just looking at the screen.
I'm just having you on. So for those that are unawares, the event will be 5 days. It actually runs from Tuesday the 17th all the way to Saturday the 21st, and then we'll kind of finish it up with a celebration on the 21st at the banquet, which should be nice and fun. Just another opportunity for everyone to kind of hang out and, in this case, drink some alcohol, I guess. But yeah, it'll run for 5 days, which is pretty cool. It's like a full working week of powerlifting, and the first place we'll start will be the Tuesday, which is a pretty rammed session. So that includes our masters, all our masters, males and female, and the first flight that we have there is the females. So I know we probably don't have a lot of, or you guys don't have a lot of masters listeners, so we'll kind of go through this pretty quick, but a few things there to note. In the females, in that first session, I would be definitely keeping an eye out for Rochelle Jessup. She is definitely one of the stronger ones in the 69 kilo weight class, coming in with a nominated total of 433.5 kilos. And that actually puts her over the top nominated total in the open division. So it would have been awesome to see Rochelle in the opens, but yeah, she's going to dominate the masters, and she'll definitely be looking to take best overall female masters, which should be good. And I know, I don't know if you guys can remember the story or what actually happened, but
She had a bit of an accident, was it?
yeah, she's had some troubles in the past. I think she did compete. Can you remember whether she competed or not last year, Paul? I think we did.
I think she did compete in nationals, I believe.
She couldn't do regionals because of the crash. She was in a car crash, so had to get dispensation for her regional and then competed at nationals.
Yeah. And then ended up having a fucking awesome meet, I think.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, she competed at nationals, but she wasn't there for the banquet, and someone else took her prize. That person shall not be named. It was a long irrelevant speech, but yeah, that name shall not be mentioned in this podcast.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh god!
If my memory serves me right, that was what happened.
We've just lost the entire group there.
So she competed at nationals last year, and she, I think, put up her very close to what she put up at regionals this year, but obviously in the old 72 class. So very, very strong deadlifter. She holds the national record there at 190.5 kilos, if I'm not mistaken, although she did pull 191 at regionals. So yeah, look for a dominant performance there, and like that would be the one if you were gonna be checking out the old masters, the females, then that'd be one I'd be keeping a pretty close eye on.
Just on that, like Megan Jeffrey as well, at 57 Masters 1 benches, 83 kilos. It's a very impressive. It might be just one lift, but it's a pretty awesome number for 57 kilo, any 57 kilo lifter.
Yeah.
Let alone Masters 1.
Yeah, definitely. So going into the afternoon session there on the Tuesday, should have a nice little battle here. So we always seem to find Darren Neves, the APA president, in a little bit of a tussle. Last year he went up against Edwin and another guy. I actually can't remember his name. But he ended up coming out on top on that one. That's his best performance he's had yet. He's been down a little bit since then, so we'll be very interested to see how he goes coming up against Pano, who is a former just bench-only lifter. Pano comes in with a 230 squat, a 207.5 bench press. So, yes, that is a 12.5 kilo discrepancy.
Legendary ratios.
Yeah, and a 262.5 deadlift. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Pano has actually benched 220 kilos in the past. So I think it went down a little bit when he went to 3 lift, but nonetheless, like 207.5 bench is fucking insane.
Best squat getting in the way.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Like, it's going to be Darren with a big squat, Pano with a massive bench. And then Darren will have the advantage in the deadlift. So he'll probably have the last say, most likely. But it will be like, how much can Pano bench? And whether he can kind of close that gap enough. Because they do come in with both with a nominated total of 700 kilos. And I mean, Darren's had a fucking fantastic Nationals last year. But, he's kind of been a little bit turbulent since. And, with Pano coming in first 3 lift comp at Wellington's regionals, you don't know. Like, I mean, he could put 20 kilos on his squat.
It's basically those newbie gains,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like, but is it though? You never know. Like, has he just been doing these lifts and
he's just never competed as a 3 lift? Yeah.
So that should be good.
Do you know who
Darren had a pretty good session yesterday? He benched 165 and deadlifted 270 quite easily. So
there you go.
He's had a bit of a resurgence in his training. And then, even though we talk about those two, that Pete Bevington, who keeps getting stronger.
That's the guy from
only 15 kilos. Yeah, he's the guy. So he's only 15 kilos behind nominated total, but he's getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, it's a case of making your list at this point, really, for that tussle there.
Well, I mean, Dazza has the better deadlift, and it's cliche as it is, like, that does put you in the position where you're like, well, just chuck on whatever. And like, Dazza's kind of like one of those lifters where, like, he can miss a lift one week and then come in the next week and absolutely destroy it. So, like, I think if you said to him, hey, Dazza, pick this fucking thing up and you win, like, I feel like he's got a good opportunity at doing that. You know what I mean?
Do you know who Pano is coached by?
Yeah, he's coached by James Schroeder.
Yeah. I said the name that shall not be mentioned has been mentioned, but yeah, whatever. Oh, so it'll be a nice battle, right? Like, at least they have like coaches behind them to like play the numbers game.
That's gonna be
it'll be
sorry,
it'll be John versus Schroeder in that one. So it'll be good. I'm really actually excited to see that one.
100%. I think it's always good to have have coaches behind strong lifters, because it just means like just good them. Sport, right? You it's nice for the spectators to watch. So people always think like, I mean, if you have a good coach, they will use any legal strategy to win. So it'll be very, very nice to see what both John and James, who are both experienced coaches. Like, John basically coaches half of New Zealand, and James Schroeder has coached at Worlds before. So yeah, it'll be nice to see them go head to head, both Darren and Pano.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Just like also to note, I think in the M2 105 again, Simon and Les going up against each other. I think they also competed against each other at like Auckland's.
Yeah, at Auckland's.
They did at Auckland's, yes.
Yeah, at Auckland's.
And I think Simon came out on top on that occasion, but they're very closely nominated, just 8 kilos between them. So it'll be interesting. I mean, Simon's gone up from 93, which is good because there's a little bit more competition at 105. And I think
his strength's just been going up ever since he's moved up the class. Like,
I think he made the right decision.
People joke about old man strength, but that really shows how going up a weight class can really just boost up your total immensely.
And it is like just his bench has skyrocketed since then. He was having tough weight cuts. So, I mean, Simon's a fucking awesome lifter, and he'll be looking at he'll probably be looking, knowing Simon, he'll be looking at the guys in the open and being like, I want to beat them, and them. So I'm going to set a really good standard.
Yeah.
I better make sure I beat him.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But yeah, you beat him, Paul. Actually, total him, Paul.
So yeah, that'll be good. But I think that's all the notables on the Masters side of things. It'll be good. It's a really nice way to open up the competition, and it's gonna be a fucking long day because we've got 2 sessions with 3 flights. So we're in for a long one.
It's pretty cool though. Like we've got like 60 Masters lifters.
Oh yeah, we got so
that's
many.
That's a big number.
That's a big number. Yeah.
It's a lot of people, even in the
it just goes to show like powerlifting is as much as people say it's a young sport, it's definitely something that all the lifters, can get into and still have a really fun time.
100%.
And I think even though we lost a lot with the split with world powerlifting, it's still, like Paul said, like 60 Masters. That's
a lot.
Yeah. All right. Should we ready to go into day 2 here, fellas?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right. So kind of work through the junior females first and the junior males afterwards. So on the junior female side of things, we have the 1 session in there. That's the Wednesday morning session. It's not our strongest area at the moment, junior females, like in terms, like the performances are good, but numbers wise, it's a little bit slim. So we've got about, just off the top of my head there, 20 odd junior females and a couple of sub juniors. But I think there's probably 2 places to keep an eye on. First thing there would be Dana's performance at 52. So she is, according to my numbers, by far the front runner for best overall junior. So Dana, actually, I was looking up Dana the other day on open powerlifting just while I was doing a little bit of research for this. And according to that, she's still only like fucking 21, which is ridiculous. But also, yeah, I know, right? Imagine being 21. How good. So that kind of speaks to how much she's progressed recently. Like if we look at her last 3 competitions, she's put 10 kilos on her total every single comp. So she continues to get better and she's still at the same weight class. I think we'll see that bench press go up quite a bit. And I think we'll see that national record and in the junior division there at, I think it was Evie said at Worlds, Raw Nationals in Whangarei, which was 86.5 kilos. So I think we'll definitely be seeing Dana have a crack at that one, which will be pretty damn cool. She is a, how would you say that? She's a bro bencher at heart, right? Long range of motion, flat back, just all guns and chest, and just blows it up without like having to utilize her leverages.
Yep, I agree. I can resonate with that. Definitely a big bench for sure. That's the only difference between her and I, right? She benches like a bro, but benches big. I just bench like a bro
and don't bench big.
Yeah, it's nice to see that as a junior, and like you said, 21, right? She has like 2 years more, right? In the junior class, and I didn't actually realize. This might be jumping the gun a little bit early that Megan Lee Smith is no longer a junior, because the last time she was like competing in the junior, and I guess like 2020 basically didn't existed, and everybody just got a year older, right? And yeah. I was actually like really hoping to see like Dana and
Megan sort of duke it out.
Yeah. And once again, it's interesting because they're both phenomenal strong lifters, and they also have experienced coaches behind them, which is Dana's coached by Rory, and
Megan by James.
Megan is by James Schroeder. So like I said, experienced coaches, they know how to play the game, they know how to call the numbers. It's going to be, like I said, very interesting to watch. And I mean, Megan Lee is also former junior world champ, right?
Yeah.
And she recently moved up, but we'll probably talk about that after. But yeah, like you said, Dana, definitely somebody to watch.
Yeah, I think like just going back to Dana, I look at Dana and I'm like, you're going to do some good shit at 57. because she's like pretty tall.
Because she does a lot of fairly, I say this, aggressive weight cuts down to 52. I think it's just sort of going on her story. She's like very into like the whole macro meal prep thing now. Is being just making sure that the weight cut goes smoothly. And Dana, if you're listening to this next year, go up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, from a selfish point of view, I'm like, let's see what you can bench at 57, like
nice.
100 plus, surely.
100 plus.
Which would be pretty fucking cool, which I think would also probably be a national record.
It would be. It would be.
Evie's 57 record.
Yeah, Evie's 57 records.
Yeah, 96 and a half, which she's probably going to beat, but we'll talk about that in a second. But also on the juniors, just the other one there that I would be keeping an eye on would be in the 69 division, which is Elsie Petrie Taylor against Veronica Manning. I tried a little bit of research on Elsie, but she was private, so there's not much I can really say on her. But she comes in with a total 12.5 kilos above Veronica, but Veronica's total is like, I think this total here actually that's down is from her competition at 63. So since then she's done a bodybuilding show, and she's kind of bouncing back into powerlifting, and she's, by the looks of things, actually I'll catch up with her this weekend, but she's been full sending pretty hard, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And I think like the coolest thing about that battle will be the fact that both those ladies have a pretty gnarly deadlift, with Elsie coming in at 175 and Veronica at 170.5.
Yeah, those are pretty ridiculous deadlifts, right? For two junior 69s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think the standard set for that at the moment, because this is a new weight class, is 160. So they'll both have the chip there to kind of work with as they go up.
As they go up. It'll be cool. That'll be definitely a cool one to watch,
Yeah, and you also see Zoe Perkins moving up from the sub-juniors into juniors.
Oh, true. She's finally not a sub-junior anymore.
Yeah, New Zealand's best sub-junior last year, so moving up into the juniors.
Also like best newcomer or something like that, or somebody to like watch for, right?
Most promising.
Yeah, most promising. Lifter, she won that last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think she'll put up a good performance. She always does. I think just confidence is a big thing for her, so if she comes in confident, then she's going to perform well. All right, going into the junior men there. So a couple of things to consider here. I'll kind of work my way through it. We'll work our way through it. Just talking about myself here, it's a bit selfish. But we have the luxury in this junior division, if I was just to jump ahead. Actually, I won't. I'll come back a little bit. Sorry, I'll go in chronological order here. So probably the first notable competition of the juniors would be the 74 division, which is also going to be Kedrick versus Jason, with Kedrick handling Kazu Saito, and myself handling Keenan Chung. So those two were basically neck and neck at regionals. And the only reason, well, I shouldn't say that, but one of the reasons why Kazu lost by 2.5 kilos was because he opted to go for a deadlift record as opposed to beating Keenan. So they are very, very evenly matched. And basically my game day experience is going to win it because Kedrick is trash.
Shots fired already. I'll just.
Kedrick, I'm gonna write on your sheet again like I did last year. Fuck with your numbers.
I think isn't the biggest thing the water cut? Isn't that going to be the biggest?
Isn't some water cutting like pretty?
So good.
I don't know whether you want to disclose their traveling situation on how younger lifters tend to plan their travels and not really think about things like that. So not sure if you want to disclose that, but
don't want to be water cutting on the flight if you can, mate.
Let's just say if there's fog or I don't know, lightning or snow, then Josh Stoddard is probably going to win.
Because they're both coming on the same flight.
That's probably
I was showing up the same flight at 10:30 in the morning when the weigh-in is at I could tell you because I've got it as my background.
12 p.m.
12. It's on the sheet, mate. 12.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is true.
It's team anime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they'll be
anime.
fine. They'll probably do some anime like jutsu and something and teleport even if there's
Probably.
fog. So they'll probably be all good. And who knows, they might do like a fusion Dragon Ball thing on the
on the flight.
Team anime coming in strong and late.
Very, very in the juniors
yeah.
especially.
So
But it should be good. Like I think it's going to be really evenly matched. Keenan will out squat Kazu. I think that's pretty obvious. Their bench is similar, and Kazu's bench is getting better. So expect them both to bench roughly like between that 140 to 145 mark. And then the deadlift, Kazu has a better deadlift. So it's going to be just a case of like us putting on the right number for Keenan and just trying to make Kazu miss.
Yeah, and I think something to take note of, like the advantage is probably going to be at least right now favoring Jason because Jason coaches Keenan, like, but whereas I don't, right? So I'm doing like my mate Kobe Sousa, his coach, helping him out because Kobe will not be there at national, so I'm handling Kazu on behalf of his coach. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I would think that prior communication and watching the lifter lift frequently as what Jason has probably been doing, hopefully, if he's a good coach, would give him that advantage. Ooh, shots fired back at you.
I'll take
yeah, I definitely agree. Good first good matchup to watch in the day 2.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll jump forward if you guys don't mind, and I'll come back to Mahaki in a bit. But I don't know, like this here. So I'm looking at the 93 class, the 93 junior class. That is, this is the first thing that popped out to me when I looked at the nominations, and I was like, holy fuck, this is very evenly matched. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys who are pretty new to the sport, and they're all coming up real fast. So I'm like, to me, and this is like my weight class, I'm like, this is a mouth-watering matchup. And I think if you were to pick out one session that you're going to sit down and watch, this would be a good one because there's going to be a lot of unknowns here. And it's just like guys on the come up, and who the fuck knows what they're going to do. They're young. They don't care.
They just put things on the bar and they just lift in.
Yeah, they're just going to be willing to go at it. And I really hope that they do. So just to give a bit of an overview, we've got, like I said, 6 guys in the running. The pretty strong favorite would be Matt Sylvie from, I think he's trains in Dunedin, if I'm not mistaken, or he's from Southern anyway, who comes in with a 705 total, and that total is from his second competition, if I'm not mistaken, or first. I think he's done a novice comp that's not actually on open powerlifting. But first or second comp, regardless, like crazy total, 300 kilo deadlift. I think he's probably the front runner. Funnily enough, I stumbled across this guy on Instagram like a couple of years back, and I was like someone, I guess, trained with him or something. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Because he was like pulling ridiculous weights and squatting ridiculous weights. And I think he's only like 20 now. So at the time, he would have been about 18. So I'm just genuinely excited to see him lift and just kind of see how he goes about things. And then probably my second bet there, or my close, like my call for the close second would be Heath. If you guys recall last year, Heath, that is, had a really good fight with another guy called Bede Alexander in the 93 sub juniors. So this is Heath's first year up in the junior division, and like he comes in with a nominated total of 662.5, which is from the NZI at the start of the year. But he did a bit of a testing day not long ago, and he totaled 702.5 in the gym. Or I'm not sure if that was across one day or across the week, but I mean, that's pretty fucking close to what Matt has done in competition. And Heath is a very impressive lifter. I think he has a wonderful future at 105 at some point because he's about 6'20".
So tall.
He's so tall.
He's a big
Yeah. And I don't know, this is going to be pretty cool. So I think it'll be very close between Heath and Matt. We also have Munyaka, I think his name is, or either McDonald. I don't know if I think that's around the wrong way. But either way, he's a very strong deadlifter and bencher from Canterbury. Similar scenario. He's done like 1 or 2 competitions, a very, very raw, rough around the edges style of lifter. So a bit of a wild card for sure, but he does come in with a 685 kilo nominated total, which is going to be interesting. And then, of course, you have Dylan Carroll, who's been in the scene for a while. I think first kind of came through in 2018 Nationals. And since then, he's been a pretty big force in the 93s. Dylan's problem is he doesn't execute on the day. He knows that. We know that. Everybody knows that. If he can execute, he will be giving those guys a run for first place. No doubt in my mind. But he needs to execute. And I think, he was actively working towards that in training. So let's see if he can put that together on the platform. I think he had a bit of an issue there with a quad or something. So I don't know if that's still affecting him or not. But he's got the strength to do it. It's just whether he can pull it together on the day. And I'll just finish this off and then I'll let you guys talk. Sorry, I'm talking too much. But I'm very excited for this class. I think it's going to be awesome. And then we also have Reinann, who's an Auckland lifter. He's coached by Adam Reinann from Acton
3.
Yeah, Acton, whatever it is. The protein molecule. That is also a gym. He's similar scenario, I think, second competition where he totaled 652.5. He's got a good deadlift at 275 there. So who knows? He could put up something pretty good. I'm pretty sure that was a 9 for 9 performance. And I'm very glad that he signed up because I remember talking to him after the competition, being like, you got to do Nats, man. That was a really good performance. And I think he seemed to really enjoy North Islands, I think it was. And
that was his first official comp at North Islands, right? This year, I believe.
Yeah.
I think he did. Hey, I think he did a novice last year.
Yeah, he did.
I think
his gym's club comp, I think, at the end of last year.
And he did Auckland Cup.
I think he did Auckland Cup as well.
He's super strong. Like, he was a real standout at North Islands.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So yeah, that'll be cool. And then also we've got Rafi in there, similar scenario. Actually, see today he just pulled 272.5. So that nominated deadlift of that's the cool thing about this class, right? It's like Rafi had a really good performance at, I think it was Auckland's or North Islands or I don't know.
Auckland's. It was Auckland's.
I'm getting them confused. Yeah, Auckland's.
Because I remember spotting him, so it definitely was Auckland.
Yeah, you're right. It was. And since then, I know he squatted 250 plus, which is 7.5 kilos over, and he's just deadlifted 12.5 kilos over. So you're already looking at another 20 kilos on his total, and all these guys I would expect to be putting astronomical amounts on their total, which unlike us old boys, that's just not going to happen.
That's the beauty of juniors, right? They've only just started, so they're still going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Like you said, Heath hasn't competed since the start of the year, so he's got a long run into this competition.
Yeah, this will be the one that you watch and you'll be
a lot.
Yeah. You watch and you'll be like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, this session, I guess, particularly the nominations wouldn't really reflect on how interesting the actual day would actually pan out.
Yeah, I wouldn't read too much.
Yeah, not particularly for this session. As Jason, you've put it, it's everyone's training is sort of just going off the roof.
Yeah.
Looking at their Instagram is kind of like, oof, wish I could make that gains in the last year, but
the thing is
7 years.
Yeah, hard. The thing is because they're young, dumb, and eager, whoever puts together lifts is going to win this. And it's all very well and good to make gains in the gym, but can you do it on a platform? There's pressure here for these guys to actually show up and do it. Training could look great, but doing it on the platform is one thing. Maybe you got to wait.
That's the fun bit.
Travel. Maybe this is the first time these guys have traveled. It doesn't affect everyone, but it's not something like a couple of hours flight, but some people, not being in their own bed the night before or having to do that plus weight cutting, who knows? So it's going to be a very interesting one. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited for it. So a lot of guys that I certainly hope stick with it and also end up competing in the opens one day, because we already have a very good 93 kilo class, and this would only make it that much better.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100% agree. Very, very, very close. Everything's tight. Yeah, like I said, the junior gains, they come quick, and just really, really excited to see how all of them like knock it out. I know, like, if I'm not mistaken, like Dylan's best bench is unfortunately probably the only bench attempt he made in his all his previous competitions, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So, and he has been looking to actually like work. He has been working on his bench press, at least on his Instagram. So hopefully with more like bench attempts made, right, and being quite a big bencher. I mean, even if we take, let's just say the 175 is his opener, and he only made his opener and missed his second and third for the past couple of competitions. 175 is still the highest bench press in the current nomination, right? So if you can put on a couple of kilos on that by making more attempts, right, that would blast his subtotal up. And I mean,
just put him in a much better position to
put him in a much better position.
podium,
like you said, if somebody slips up, you can just pull, right? And I think one of the benefits of like being not nominated that high is that people might just not notice you, and then you can like slip in between the cracks if someone just slips up. So like I said, Dylan has been quite a big force ever since the 2018 Nationals, 2018 Nationals, and now hopefully he has the meet he wants and finally
perfect meet, Dylan.
Yeah,
that's what we're all asking for.
I mean, if he can bench like what he's capable of and like what he's done in the gym, like 190, 200 even, like he's well within the mix with these guys. Just to round it off, like Dylan is 20, Rafi's 19, Reinann's 21, Heath's 18, McDonald's 22, and Matt Sylvie is 19. Well, this is at their last competition, so just let that sit in for a bit.
I'd rather not think about that.
Let's move on because the age is catching up to me.
I'm getting older just sitting here.
It's like, oh man, bones are creaking.
Yeah. So I think outside of that, bit of a competition here in Flight B of that session with Quinton Dickinson-Gillett and Ben Coker, also newbies, within 2.5 kilos of each other in the total. So
that third place battle looks pretty spicy as well based on the nominations.
Oh yeah, and third place would be good too between Adam Thompson and Sean King.
The rotating squad of Sean King.
Actually, I did kind of miss that one. That's actually going to be really close. Even the last guy's within.
Yeah, they're just within 5 kilos. So it's kind of, I guess, that whole situation again where, and it seems like all of their numbers, same nominated squad, bench is pretty much 7.5 kilos difference with the deadlift within like 10 kilos between each other. I think it's that classic case of go 8 for 8 and then pull for the win kind of thing.
Yeah. That'll be
podium.
Yeah,
basically everybody in that flight in the 105 will be fighting for a medal, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good. Yeah,
makes it way more enjoyable, right?
Yeah.
Way more.
It's like anybody can win a medal. It's like, wow, it's pretty good.
And then to round out the juniors, you've got Terry there, so that's always fun to watch.
Always good energy when Terry's lifting.
Yeah, I kind of wish he was actually going up against Seb because I think they'd both push each other nicely, but
especially in the deadlift.
Yeah,
both monstrous deadlifters would have been a good matchup there if he had not stuck with the juniors, of course.
I know,
he's just good to watch. He's just, he brings the energy.
He brings the energy.
Excitement. He brings, everything that you want from a powerlifter.
He's just a fucking cool dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
You get to see him absolutely crush John when he comes off the platform.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't crush John too much till it affects John's performance.
Crush John so we
The thing is, like with Terry, is like his deadlift gets a lot of like recognition, but his bench is insane. Like he benched 240 the other day. His like comes in with a nominated bench of 230, and like that's pretty up there, even like on the international scale, especially as a junior. So, I mean, I don't love bench, but that's a pretty awesome bench. And does he sink it into his chest? That man crushes his sternum, and it flies off his chest. So look out for that one.
Yeah, and Terry also finally pulled 365. Right, his golden finally achieved his golden egg, golden goose, I don't know, the deadlift that he wants, right? After like missing a lot of times, right? Because every time he pulls a deadlift, I'm looking to see if he hits it so I can tag king of the lifts. And he finally pulls 365 and
it finally happened.
Yeah, it finally happened, right? So that'll be really, really good to watch, because if you said I have no idea what he's squatting right now, but if you said he benched 240 and deadlifted 365, that's like 25 kilos up from the nominated total, that excluding whatever he squatted. And I think something really amazing to consider as well is that being a 120 plus, you can basically exclude any potential downsides from weight cutting because you don't weight cut at all. So like that's another factor. People will be like, this guy trains heavy in the gym. When he cuts weight, he doesn't really maintain all the strength he get. But yeah, as a 120 plus,
and he's got a few competitions under his belt as well. And I think, if he pulls it together, and I think riding off that momentum with that 365, I think it will probably be a pretty good comp for Terry, I think. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, he had Paul will remember this. He had a very profound learning experience at his first ever Auckland champs.
100%, which is a good thing. It's a good thing in that he learns that earlier.
Yeah,
he understands that he's got to change things up. So how close is him and Mahaki then, Jason?
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to say.
That's got to be the next part, right?
Before I go to that though, interesting to note that the open record in the bench press is actually 240, set by the great Ruben Samanu. So I think he might be having a crack at that, which would be pretty damn cool. But anyway, to go off what Paul said, I don't want to give too much away with Mahaki, but let's just say Mahaki Mahaki's a tall guy. He's a tall, big guy, and he usually comes in about 81 kilos. I have been pestering, because I coach Mahaki, for those of you that don't know, I've been pestering him for years to put some weight on. He promised me that he's going to go to 93 after his junior career, which is after this year. So I'm going to hold him to that. But in the meantime, we've been trying to get him like within weight cutting range, as opposed to just rocking up at like 81, 82 kilos. And he's done that so far. Fingers crossed he holds on to that weight. And I tell you what, training has been looking pretty good. I mean, like you guys have seen Mahaki, you've seen him train, with his bloody shirt off. He always posts that shit, and he's a physical freak. And I think what I've been seeing in training is like him really realize his potential in the 83 class. And I think he's going to put on a really good show. So I would be keeping an eye out for that. And I would have my money on him for winning best overall junior.
Yeah, I will probably agree there too.
Probably agree. I mean, if he's putting on weight, chances are he's making heaps of gains on there. So wouldn't put past him.
Chuck him in onto the 93s coming through then. To open 93s.
The open 93s, and when all the junior
now,
93s.
Jay, go to the 105s.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yeah, there's going to be like basically like three different flights of 93s next year at Nationals when the juniors move up to 93s.
Well, to be fair, they're all like 19, so they're not going to be there.
I mean, we can pester them to do the open and have a big ass flight.
All right, should we move on to the open?
We can, yes.
Yep. Happy with that? So, actually, just real quick, everyone's picks for best junior. I have Dana for the female side of things, and I have Mahaki for the males.
It's hard to go against that, to be honest.
Anyone got a different call there?
Just to have a different opinion, I'll just go for Terry.
Yeah,
but
it's
for the males. So
Terry has the last look at it.
Yeah, I mean, basically if he needs to pull whatever, he will put whatever and pull whatever.
Yeah,
even
he will put it on.
He will do that, So I'm hoping that happens, and it's just a good show to watch. Obviously, barring the thought that he doesn't hurt himself, right? And never wish any lifter to actually get injured in comp. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with Dana. Right, I think it's quite undisputed for females.
For females,
and,
agreed.
We'll go for. I'll go for Terry for males.
I'll probably go Dana females. I think, like everyone's kind of talked about, it's probably going to be Dana. Males, as much as I would again agree with Jason backing Mahaki there, obviously Jason, you coach him, so you probably know a lot more context there. I would definitely like to see Terry pull something out of his ass, a really big deadlift to not only take the total, take the best overall, of course, but potentially psychologically actually push Seb to actually maybe push his deadlift when it's his turn in the opens as well. I think that can be a really good showing of, Terry showing up to a
Good motivator.
Yeah, good motivator for Seb to actually put a big total on his deadlift as well, because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. Obviously, he's probably in prime position anyway in his class, Seb. So obviously he has that opportunity to, full send, as some would say.
Yeah, he'll want the biggest total of the competition. And I think that's what he wanted to do last year, and he achieved that because obviously Terry was earlier on in the week.
Yeah.
He'll have another look and he'll be like, you know what, I want to total the most.
Because nominations wise, they're only 7.5 kilos apart. And, if that's Seb's goal, I think it can be nice, if Terry pulls a big one, gets the overall, it might potentially push Seb to put even something bigger, which is always good to see.
Yeah. Nothing like some big boys lifting big weights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One last thing before we go to the opens, really quick, just to kind of be like that guy, the devil's advocate, is that if Dana makes weight, most likely she'll win. That is the caveat, is if she makes weight, because I know she makes big cuts. So there's just something to add. I'm saying the probability might be 0.01, but you can't rule that out. So just throwing it out there. But yeah, my pick is still Dana. So on to the opens.
Right. So we've got 2 lifters in the 52 females. The opens actually starts on the Thursday Arvo. So we've already mentioned her a little bit, so I won't go on too long, but Megan Lee Smith is the clear front runner there. Alongside her is Susie Premji, who's just coming back after having a young boy, little Zane. So she'll be looking to improve on those numbers that she's got down there. Susie's a very seasoned competitor, and her total there of 355 is nowhere near her best. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's closer to 370 odd. But Megan Lee's training has been looking fucking outstanding. Her bests are 145, 70, and 160.
Didn't she recently deadlift 150 for a triple or double? I can't remember.
So her bests are 145, 70, and 160. And in training, she's done 153, 77.5, and 175. So 15 on the deadlift, 7.5 on the bench, and 8 on the squat. So look for her to absolutely decimate that total that she has there at 367.5. I mean, she's gone up from 47, which fucking good on her, because it's clearly shown in her training, and I'm pretty excited to see what she can do. I think it was NZI this year, she didn't have exactly the meet that she wanted to have, but since then she's really done a good job of turning it around. And obviously her and Schroeder have been working hard to kind of figure out the formula there, and whatever they're doing, it seems to be working. So I'm pretty excited for that one. And she'll be up there with the best overall. I mean, I think she'll be in second, but she'll put up a pretty damn good
good fight, against Evie. I would say there for sure.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. I mean, 175 as a 52, and she probably way under 52. I'm pretty sure she's way under.
Yeah, it's good she's taken that advantage of not having worlds this year and just going up a weight class, taking that pressure off her, so she can just get stronger and not worry about that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time she moves up anyway. I, as the resident weight cutting guy, I think anybody in that as a junior you probably can't stay in that weight class forever, especially when you go to the open. You might actually be shortchanging your own gains anyway. But not to draw the conversation about scientific stuff and weight cutting, because that's all boring. Susie's best total is 377.5 pregnancy, right? So and I know that she will be looking to put up a good fight because her personal goal is to total 400 as a 52. And I think that every competition she does now post-pregnancy, she'll be inching towards that goal, her personal goal. And just because the nominated total is 355, right? It's like not something to sleep on. Like at the end of the day, like I said, Megan Lee, coached by Schroeder, right? Susie is being handled by Eric Helms, so both pretty experienced. If any like slip up were to happen, and yeah, Susie might just sneak from the back, right? It's also important to know that 355 is also 22.5 less
It's a
than
very
what Susie has
very
ever
sandbaggy total for Susie,
So
for sure.
yeah, she definitely has more. Don't sleep on Susie, especially considering that she has competed at Worlds as well. So it's not like Megan Lee has an advantage because she's competed at Worlds, because Susie has as well. So I think experience wise, right?
The neck and neck.
Yeah, I think that it's the only thing is a shame is that Dana, if you're listening, you should be here like necking it out with all three of them. That'll be a really interesting.
That would have been a really good
interesting fight. But like I said, these are all like our selfish desires to make powerlifting more entertaining. So, but yeah, that's just my thoughts on this weight class.
Yeah, it'll be good. I mean, I think Megan Lee's gonna put on a show, which is kind of due for her. But yeah, Susie's definitely gonna be adding to her total there for sure. So moving on, 57.
Putting on a show.
Speaking of putting on a show and a one-horse race, obviously this is going to be dominated by Evie Corrigan. What are you guys' thoughts on Evie there? And she comes in with a 466 nominated total, which is 4th all time in the 57s. She's only 8 kgs behind the best ever total at 57, according to Open IPF. Do you think she's got it?
I don't think she can be beat. It's been in the overall. Obviously, she won't be beat in the 57s. But like her training seems to have been like so good at the moment.
I think she squatted. I can't remember what she squatted today, but I saw that on Instagram just before
maybe
it
at
came
175 or something like that.
Yeah, she squatted at 175. So
like they have a lot of small punishing plates, so I couldn't really see.
And it didn't look.
Yeah, they're not all Alico.
Yeah, it didn't even look that like grinding. If you've ever seen Evie really grind out a squat.
And
the recent squat on her Instagram today wasn't even that difficult. So yeah. I have my money on her, really, really sort of inching to that all-time total, hopefully.
Looks like 72 or 70, somewhere around there. I'd say 72. I think she squatted 170.5 last week.
Yeah.
Yes. It was very comfortable.
It looks like 72, 75.
So with that total there, she's got 170. She benched what did she bench last week? It was something ridiculous. It was 97.5, and it was like easy as. That was done at Unbreakable. Shout outs to Jen on the spot. But so that's 1 kilo on her bench there, roughly 2.5. We don't really know the load, but 2.5 to maybe 5 on the squat. She needs 8 kilos to do the best ever 57 kilo total. Is it going to be there? I know it hasn't been that great.
I would like to say yes, simply due to the fact that I know that she's going to push the squat, and I know she wants the 100 kilo bench. Because we had this conversation last year when I was handling her for Nationals. She said, I want the 100 kilo bench, but I also want a good meet, which is why, we went 96.5 playing some chips, and I, just for the sake of the sport, I would love to see her push the biggest total as a 57, simply due to the fact that Worlds is happening, right? Obviously,
it'll be a good showing that the winner of Worlds wouldn't have beaten.
I mean, it's also good for the highest total is currently held by Maria Hiti, right? So, and she's competing at Worlds, so it would be nice to see Evie beat her and Maria Hiti be yep,
I think it was
let's try to top it up.
I think they were talking about Evie, and I think there's 4 of them within 6 kilos.
Yeah, 8 kilos.
8 kilos, is it?
7.5, I think.
Yeah, so Evie will have an eye on sort of showing off what her total can be.
100%.
And then her deadlift might not have been might not be going as good, but that's probably the one you can get away with coming into a competition, right?
And I think we also have to we also have to consider the fact that considering how strong Evie has been, she's actually at the start of this year, I think she transitioned doing a little bit of weightlifting stuff as well. So if Worlds is 2022 happens next year, and if Evie does decide to sort of go down that route of saying, yeah, like I'm actually going to prep for Worlds if it ever does happen, I think this comp is probably going to be that comp to kind of, put her name out there and say like, look, I didn't do Worlds this year, you guys can win it. But next year when the world returns back to normal, it's definitely going to be a very, very good comp, particularly for her if she ever does want to go that route. So
yeah, like, hey, here's my total.
Yeah.
Beat it.
Yeah. Exactly. And then I'll see you next year kind of thing.
Yeah, but then again, like, just to go off topic, I'm very excited to see what Joy Namani does at 57 because she's just like squatting 190 and deadlifting 227.5, which is fucking ridiculous. Also coached by a New Zealander, so how good. But anyway, just I think Evie's going to dominate, but what I'm going to be looking for is like, can she pip that all-time best 57 kilo total? Because I mean, she doesn't have competition. She's going to win best overall. She's going to win the 57 class. I mean, don't look past Holly Jenkins. In any other era, she's fucking an awesome lifter. She comes in with basically a 380 total and she squats 150 kilos. Like, that's awesome. But like, it's just unfortunate that she has to be there alongside Evie.
Well, it's even the same with like Dana coming through the juniors, right? You should be dominating every record. Just happened that Evie came through first. Like, it's just unfortunate, right? And yeah, like you said, don't, I think we get caught up in the top people and kind of forget that actually Holly is smoking some big weights, squatting 150.
Yeah. She's a very, very good lifter, and like she'll put on a good show as well.
I mean, I would love to see a total past 400. So
for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
63s.
63s. Lead us in, Paul.
You've got nominated first, you got Amy Lee Owen, whose training has looked real good. She has looked real strong. I think she squatted 147, which is her nominated squat for a double today. And she did like 95 bench, like 5 singles or something I just saw before. Then you've got Katie Lynn coming in nominated second, and Amanda Fox in third. Jolie and Ashley coming in fourth and fifth with the same total nominated. So Amy Lee's just keeps getting stronger, but Katie's a really good lifter, and she trains really hard, and she always performs well in competition. She always goes 9 for 9. So I think Amy Lee will definitely. Her training shows that she's probably in the lead, but we'll have to make all the lifts in order to, take out that win.
Yeah, I think. Did you say she benched 95 for some singles?
Pretty sure today she did like 5 singles at 95.
Yeah, her bench is just going fucking nuts.
Crazy. Yeah.
Her squat and bench has just been going really well.
Well, the New Zealand bench record at 63 is 94 kilos held by Sarah Menzies. So I know she had a crack at that. Well, not the record, but because it was at the provincials, but she had a crack at 94.5 at Auckland Champs and missed it. I think, can't remember, but I remember being surprised that she missed it. So, I mean, if she would hit 95 for a whole bunch of singles this week.
95 for 5 singles today.
Yeah. So I'd say she's looking
pretty good for that record.
That 94 kilo record. So that'll be cool. And I mean, she's still, like, if you look at her open IPF, she's got about 5 comps under her belt, but they're all starting from 2020. So she's pretty new. She originally was a GPC lifter. She saw the light pretty quick there. And she's just been putting on a really, really good show in the NZPF since, competed at NZI. And funnily enough, like, I didn't cut weight for that meet and actually ended up doing better like 4 or so weeks later at Auckland Champs. So
I remember that. Yeah,
was a bit shocked.
That was crazy.
She also had like that ridiculous grind on her deadlift at the NZI.
At the NZI,
a sick grind.
It was a huge grind, and just at one point, unfortunately for her, but it was a massive grind and awesome lift.
Yeah, so she's definitely one to keep an eye on. Like, still new, still building, and Yeah, I think she'll win that convincingly. I mean, like you said, Paul, Katie's a very well established lifter. She's been around as long as you and I have, and she doesn't always. I think she's had a bit of a scrap in the past with an 80-kilo bench, but she usually makes a lot of lifts, and she knows like where her limits are. So she's going to be putting together a decent total, and if something goes astronomically wrong, she'll be there. But I think Amy Lee's just really showing up over the last. What are we in the 8th month? Yeah, over the last, like pretty much in 2021. So I'm excited to see what she can do there. And she did come 3rd last year, so she'll be hungry for a.
She came 3rd. And man, like I think the one exciting part of this class will be that 3rd deadlift. Which you've got 160, 160, and then 157 for Amanda. And Amanda's deadlift's always impressive. Like
Amanda's pulled about 180 in the past.
Yeah. She's also, her and Susie are both coming back from having kids. So the battle of the mums
battles
has continued from North Islands onto Nationals.
Yep.
Yeah, she's pulled 178.5 before. So, I mean, to be fair, Amanda's totaled 402 in the past and at a lighter body weight. So she might not be quite there yet. But, once again, if something goes wrong, or actually, Katie should be keeping a pretty close eye on her. So it'd be a good fight for second, I think.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. So, Kedrick, 69-kilo weight class. Your fellow PhD candidate, Alyssa, is going to be definitely throwing her hat in the ring for this one. She comes up against Lungi Fruin. Bit of a, I said someone before, I can't even remember who. It was a bit, I think it was McDonald. A bit rough around the edges. Lungi is definitely rough around the edges. She's unbelievably strong, but she is not consistent at hitting lifts.
We talked about this just before we actually started recording this podcasting with myself and Paul.
Yeah, so if she can put together like her numbers there, she's going to have a good total. But what's the go with Alyssa Kedrick? I know she's coming back from a back injury, and she was only able to pull 155 at her last comp. How's she going?
She has been doing really well. I think she pulled 165 this week. Wasn't an RDP 10, so definitely have some more kilos in the tank. And I also feel like her back hasn't been acting up, so we will definitely be able to see some good performance. Right? I think ever since regionals, she has been putting in the hard work. Her bench is progressing really nicely as well. I really want to see her take a crack at the 100 kilo bench press, right? Which I think is pretty impressive as a 69 kilo lifter. I think that was the standard. Was that the standard set? No, what was the standard set for the 69?
The bench press.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually a set record because Amy competed at 69 in the NZI, so it's 90 kilos is the record. So
yep,
Alyssa will be looking to go past that.
Yep. So this is a question to you, right? So obviously, let's say Rochelle competes as a masters, and if she breaks all the records as a masters, does that also carry into the open? So does the open record get updated immediately?
Yes.
Right. So
ideally, unless someone fucks something up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Rochelle's nominated at 95, so she has the same bench as Alyssa. I do think that that might be a small like spanner, like basically just a little bit of a how do I say this just makes it harder because like if Rochelle was to not compete as a first, the records would be slightly lower, and then you can play chips, right? But now you cannot like play chips on the bench press, and we know the chips probably matter more when your bench press is lighter, right? So which is why females in the lower weight class basically just take 2.5 jumps from their first to the second and second to the third, even though they know they can't do 2.5 anymore, but that's the smallest jump they can take if it's not breaking a record. So I do think that Alyssa would do pretty well, right? Like I said, I want to see her take a crack at the 100 kilo bench press, and that should, if she takes, I think she has bench 97.5 in training, so that's 2.5 up from her current nomination, and also 10 kilos up from a deadlift. I think her squat is around there, maybe 2.5 kilos less. So that probably puts her around like maybe at 410. I know that Langi's total is not the total done in a single comp, right? It's like the best from each competition. So, and as you have mentioned, she is kind of rough along the edges, which means that there is a higher probability of her not being able to put up this same nominated total if she cannot replicate it, right? Whereas Alyssa's ability to replicate it is a little bit better, simply due to the fact I think this is her best lift this year, because last year at the NZI, I think she put 185 or something like that, or something ridiculous. Or nationals, I don't know. But Alyssa has pulled something ridiculous before.
185 is her best.
Yeah,
which
so
was
this
last year.
Yeah, that was last year. So this is Alyssa's best total this year, right? So I definitely am looking
forward. Are you
to
handling it?
Yes, I am.
So yeah, I think to put it lightly, I think that'll probably be the biggest advantage that she needs, just because, like I said, Langi's, I don't know, she's just not like the way her and her coach approach a competition is not necessarily like, oh, what can we do to put ourselves in the best position to win this? It's like, how can we send it and how can we put on like PBs? So I think you guys will be looking for the win. They're probably like looking at the win like after the fact, and I think that's going to probably let them down. I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong there, but it's just been the case over and over again. So I can only go off what I know.
Yeah, and like I said, never sleep on anyone. I mean, Rose.
I hope you're not sleeping on anyone.
No, like.
Well then,
do not sleep on the competitors.
It will be cold in Invercargill, so I guess. I mean, you and Chung, you are brothers, so
fair enough.
But I mean, Rose with 388, right? Like, if anybody just messes up, it's always easy to slip between the cracks. So,
Rose is coming up from 63 as well, so she's gonna only add to that total. I mean, she's a pretty seasoned competitor as well, so she might not be making massive progress, but at the same time, she's going up.
You're coming up a weight class,
and she's likely to make lifts. Like, she will make lifts because she knows how to compete.
She probably should go to the 76 based on just how tall she is, though.
Yeah,
she's really tall. Yeah,
and extremely
so tall. Yeah.
She'll be also coaching, I think, during that session, so that might play a little bit of a factor into it as well.
That's a good point. Does have a couple lifters there, I think.
Ash in that first flight as well. Ashley,
yeah, 69 will be good. It's going to be close. It's only 3 people, but those are
it'll be close between 3 of them.
Yeah, that's what you like to see. 3, but 3 kind of close.
Yep. And I think for the 76, Jason, you can take it back. We have our friend, Jenny D, right?
Yeah.
Having a predicament on whether to go up to the 70s, to go down to the 76 or move up. And I'm not sure how much of the decision was made based on her Instagram poll, but yeah, maybe you can give us a little bit of insight into that.
It's like, when you post up, like, should I go to 76 or 84? And then one person votes for the one that you want to do. And then you repost it and you're like, oh, I'm going 84.
Confirmation bias is great.
Yeah, you're like, quickly before someone else votes.
Quickly screenshot it.
Yeah,
100% says 84.
100%. Oh wow, everyone's so good. No, but so originally I did have / in the nominations was Nicole, who put up a really big total at 76 at North Islands. She's decided to go up, made the right decision there. So it's kind of left Jen in a little bit of a world of her own. She is 42.5 kilos above the next competitor. Jen's kind of like made the conscious decision to like not go too crazy in training in the lead into this. She wanted to enjoy training more than anything, which I think is great. And like, funnily enough, training's actually gone pretty well. I kind of bargained with her to push for the last 4 weeks because we were doing pretty minimal, just like comp lift volume over like the first, because she did South Islands to qualify at 76. And since then, like that first 4 weeks, we kind of took away from doing too much comp lifts, and she just spent a bit more time doing accessories and things like that, which she really enjoyed. And I think it actually sparked quite a bit of enjoyment back into training, and it actually seems to have carried over quite nicely. So she comes in with a nominated total of 152.5 on the squat, 90 on the bench, and 182 on the deadlift for 425. And I think she'll be looking to surpass all that. And, you know, with a pretty minimal training stimulus, like she only does 3 times per week. And like I said, we pulled it back quite a bit. I think that's pretty good. And I think if anything, it speaks to it speaks to how important enjoying training can be, which will be cool to see. So,
yeah. I also think that's nice just to see her being able to cruise compared to last year's nationals where she had to compete with slightly bumped back and then had to just pull something crazy, you know, just on the deadlift, right? On the last deadlift to get a medal. And then was like broken for the next couple of months. I use the word broken really, really casually. So just throwing it out there. But yeah, so it's nice to see her, like I said, enjoy training, right? And enjoy training, put up a good total, have a good meet, right? Like, even though I would say like to see like her and Nicole like
Duke it out
and stuff, but like I said, for the sake of like both their personal benefit, I think Nicole, I mean, you probably talk about that later, but they both make good choices. And yeah, I think it's just nice to see Jenny compete again, right? And enjoy training, put up a good meet compared to last year.
She's like, don't get me wrong, she's a fiery competitor and she'll go in and get stuck into it. But you know, she's just made that decision. She's like, you know what, I'm not gonna go crazy, but I'm gonna do my best to win.
Oh yeah,
she always pulls a good third deadlift, right? She's always got that in her, so that's always a good way to put that emphasis on the end of a session, you know.
Yeah, her Instagram stories are fun to watch as well. Her captions are always funny. So, yeah, you can see. I mean, I'm not saying that she's not training hard. I'm just saying that you can see that she is enjoying training when you can actually like, once in a while make fun of yourself. I think it's important to not take yourself too seriously, especially when powerlifting isn't really your career,
main job.
You know, so
sometimes you've just got to take it back to square one.
Oh, nice plug. Nice
plug. Good plug.
I've been waiting for my opportunity this whole podcast.
You've got Chanel here who also will be going for that 100 kilo bench, I reckon. I think her training's been going pretty good for the bench press. So that's going to add another person. You know, that's going to be what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this session going around that 100 kilos, 97 to 100 kilo bench press. Seems pretty crazy for, you know, the female bench press has sort of gone through the roof in the, you know, last few years. So it's pretty cool to see.
I think that's one of the things that definitely stuck out to me last year's nationals is how many females we had like push over that 100 kilo bench. It's gone up a lot over the last wee bit, which is really cool to see. And I mean, to be fair, all the numbers in general have gone up for the ladies, but at the same time, I think bench is kind of the one that stands out. And I think it's actually progressed even quicker.
Well, there's only 2 female lifters in this session that bench less than body weight.
That's pretty
you know, like that's body weight was like the goal, right? Back when we sort of started up.
Yeah.
And now that's like what body weight for reps, you know.
Yeah, 3 figures is the goal now.
I guess in the 76ers, you probably also mentioned that Casey's not lifting, so she's missing from that weight class.
She would have been at
69. Okay, then she was missing from the 69s then.
yeah. So she is
a hell of a lifter, you know.
Well, I think you've got 2 notable omissions there. Casey O'Malley of Canterbury, who extremely good deadlifter. He came second place at 72s last year. Sorry, 3 notable omissions. Got Casey there. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but also Hemmer from the 84s. We'll talk about that in a bit. And Sarah Menzies, who's decided to take a year off as well.
And I mean, we also have Amanda Wallström, who's back in Sweden now.
Yeah.
That's why that's why the class is so thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. So I don't know where Sarah's going, but it could be either be the 63 or the 69 class. Hopefully 69 because
69. I think she was doing some pretty rough cuts, and she's tall for a 63.
And she's shredded.
Very shredded is an understatement.
All right, should we roll on in chronological order and just go into day 4 here as opposed to going into the final female weight classes?
I think that would be a smart move.
Yeah, good idea.
It's because I know like everyone will be following along with the nominations.
True. Print out. We should have had the disclaimer. Print out the nominations.
Print out the
We have
notes.
this.
We'll put it in the show notes. That's what all the famous podcasters say.
Good
It's
idea.
in the
the
show
show
notes.
Oh, we'll
Okay,
link. We'll
With
link the
our
Google
Instagram
Doc.
bios, thank you.
We'll link the Google Doc.
I spoke earlier, so to move on to Friday here, I spoke earlier about the 93 class being probably the one that jumped out to me the most, but the 59 kilo class is the one that surprised me the most.
Small man.
Firstly, yeah, Chung fucking throwing his hands up in the air for those of you that can't see. Firstly, like we have 5 59 kilo lifters, which is kind of crazy. And secondly, we have like 3 who are actually in a good battle here. They are classic 59 kilo lifters with somewhat poverty benches and massive deadlifts. And it's going to be pretty close. We've got Jose Flores in pole position there with a 470 kilo nominated total. Second place, we have last year's winner and national deadlift record holder, Michael Murray. And in third place, we have Prashanth, who also has, I mean, I say, it's funny because I say Michael holds the New Zealand deadlift record, but Jose and Prashanth have both deadlifted more
Over the record.
competition this year. So both coming in with a deadlift of 215 kilos. So, I mean, like looking at it, and I kind of did a little bit of research on these guys coming into this, and Jose looks really good. I mean, the advantage here, right, is like because it's such a small weight class, he is already under. I think he came in at about 56.9 or somewhere around there. So for him to come into this not having to cut, plus potentially also filling out the class, I think that and I mean, he's already got the highest nominated total. I think that puts him at a huge advantage. But then again, he's new to the sport. Who knows what, how
on the day itself.
Yeah, who knows how he'll go at his first nationals, but yeah, it'll be good. And I think we'll expect to see the total record, which is, you should know this, Chung. This is your X-weight class.
Well,
472.5.
Yeah, I think that's by Ali, I believe.
Yeah, that is by Ali
Yeah.
from Nationals
2018?
in 2019.
2019. There we go.
So yeah, expect to see that broken. And I don't know. I think Jose is looking pretty good there. Those other guys, I think Michael's been a little bit injured as of late, just from what I can see on the grams. So and I think Prashanth's just probably a little bit behind on the bench and squat. But
Yeah.
look for
in
some.
saying that, I think Prashanth has been pushing his squat a fair bit. I think just sort of going back to what Kedrick would probably say is don't sleep on anyone. So if, like you said, if Jose there is coming in with a little bit of nerves, and his squat doesn't go the way he wants it to go, given this, obviously he's nominated as 162, who knows what happens on the day, very, very easily there. Given that we know how long Prasad's arms are,
Bro, honestly,
definitely
watch out
be-
for the long boys in this one.
can
These guys all have
definitely
long
be
arms.
sort of just basically just putting weight on the bar and pulling for the win. Because from my memory in training, I know that he has pulled more than 215, even though 215 is his max in comp.
And it was
He only has to pull it about 4 inches off the ground.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, they're all like that.
And conventional as well.
And conventional, real man deadlift, as they would say.
And I think that the 215 that he did was from Auckland's, I think, and that was real conservative. So
Yeah. It'll be a good scrap there, I think, for the deadlift record.
probably worth noting that Jose is coached by Brett Gibbs, so that's going to help. And obviously Brett's been on the biggest of stages, so he'll be there and he'll be calming him down and making sure that he does all the right things. But yeah, and like pretty cool way. I mean, how many
to have 59?
back when all I need to do was make my openers to actually get gold.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like when you competed at 59, was there anyone else there?
No, it was just me. All I need to do is make my openers. I was like,
Coming from my rugby league background, 59 kilo men, come on. Put some weight on.
Live.
Yeah.
oh.
So moving into the kind of what could have been weight
Yeah,
class,
sure.
the 66 kilos, which is going to run in the same session as the 59s. We have obviously Chung in this flight. How's your training going, mate?
Oof, I mean, everyone's been asking, Judah and Ali's been asking me that. I'm like, it's not been the best, but I'm not missing lifts, so that's what you want from training.
How you feeling going to the comp though?
Honestly, overall, I actually had a thought about this, and I looked at the nominations, and obviously being on Instagram, stalking other people, but just putting, I guess, just looking at the numbers, I think it's going to come down to, and I hate to use this word, experience on the day itself and how well, Judah, myself, and Ali handle ourselves. Because looking at the nominations here, it's 537. Obviously, not disregarding John, but let's be honest, you're definitely going to get first. But looking at second and third place, Judah and myself are basically the same on nominations. But looking at how Ali's training has been, particularly on his squat, I think he squatted like 185 for 5 the other day, or like for reps, I reckon. So if we kind of factor into that, it's funnily enough, it's going to come down to whoever makes more lifts. Bench, no one can really afford to miss a lift there. And I know historically Ali isn't as good on the bench. But then Judah, obviously being the bigger deadlift as he is going to have the last say. So,
I mean, 232.
Yeah, I think he pulled like 230 this week or something. I don't know.
But he's like last year he competed at 74.
So so he might be doing a water cut. I think he's still being handled by Brett as well.
Yeah,
I would assume. So, yeah, I mean, I will probably put Ali in second and myself third, but the big caveat there is knowing that Judah is able to pull, which will probably, realistically, again, pushing me out and taking second and Ali third. It'll really come down to Judah making, going 6 for 6 and just pushing both of us out of that second position on his deadlift, I would think.
What a humble guy.
Yeah, I think, you can't. It's a bit of a cliche, but making lifts matters, and that's kind of what you want, right? You want it down to the actual sport of powerlifting and making sure that you do get the correct lifts. So Ali has troubles with his bench. He's always had trouble. He misses a couple.
I think from my memory, he gets really long calls, and if you're listening to this, Ali, I'm sure you've remedied this. Like his arms never gets locked out. Yeah, I think that was like a big thing last year at Nationals, I think.
Yeah, and he actually had his fingers outside the rings last year.
Yeah.
I remember, because it was the first time I'd ever seen it happen.
But I know that he's been training to get strength lately with the boys down there, so I'm sure a lot of that technical stuff has been cleaned up. And like I said, his training squat particularly has been looking phenomenal. Like, I don't know, I think he's finally injury free, and he can actually squat now, which is pretty crazy.
That'd be good. That's a very good point, actually. He has, I think, since he last competed, a transition to training at GS. So, we see that
will definitely benefit from a comp spec perspective.
Yeah, it gives a lot of people benefit. I think even just from an environmental perspective, because from memory, he was training at home.
Yeah.
I think also worth noting there, like obviously Will competing out of the junior division, he could have been in the mix there like he was last year.
Yep.
He'll probably be totaling around what you guys will be totaling, which is cool to think. But I think he just wants to wrap up that.
I think this is last year's at juniors, I believe.
Yeah.
Take that junior title.
Yeah, exactly. So be interesting to see how he goes. And of course, like Chung already mentioned, John Strachan is So John, if you don't know, which you probably all do, but I'm going to say it anyway, John was a very, very well-established 70. Well, actually, John's just a generally well-established lifter. He's been doing it since he was 13. I think he's like 30 odd now, so at least 17, 18 years. Started off equipped, and he runs Get Strength, and as Kedrick said, coaches half of New Zealand. So he had a really good run at 74 back in 2018. Since then, he'd taken a bit of time away from the sport and really refocused himself, I think, by going down to 66 / running away from Chris Kennedy. But I think since then, like I know originally when he was at 66, he was doing a whole bunch of other exercise like running and things like that to kind of keep his weight down. He put up a couple of token totals like he did the Get Strength comp at the end of last year at 66 just to see what it was like making weight. And then he did a pretty conservative meet at North Islands. And then kind of since then, when he's kind of pulled it back and really
his
focused.
training has been
he's really applied
pretty
what I can see.
ridiculous.
Like I actually haven't had a yarn with him for a while, but he's really applied himself to this. And I think it kind of speaks to also letting your weight kind of stabilize at a new weight class and kind of getting used to it again. For all I know, he could be back up to 74 looking to cut 8 kilos. But I think like his numbers have gone fucking mental since North Islands. I think he totaled 580 at North Islands. And just this past week, he's totaled in training 642.5. So that's 62.5 kilos on what he did at North Island. So I think we're really seeing him like realize his potential at 66. And if he gets it right and he pulls it all together, he looks pretty good to take the total record at 642.5, the squat record at 225, and he just squatted 227 today. And the deadlift record, which is 255.5, and he pulled 270 the other day. So yeah, it's cool.
Right.
I mean, anytime that John's going good, like NZPF is going good because I think he's such a profound figure in the sport.
100%.
Yep, I agree. I was looking at training. It's like, yep, he's probably going to out total the 74s.
Yep, I would say so.
Yeah,
I'm just really curious about his weight. I know that he can do insane cuts.
I've seen his insane regains and cuts
and
on his Instagram.
The thing with John is that he's like a 3D lifter in the sense that to see how big he is, you need to see him from 3D. If you look from him from the front, he look like he almost doesn't lift, right? Because like John is like thick, right? So whether he's 74 or 83 from the front, he probably looks the same.
Yeah.
Would you all agree, right?
Yeah.
But when he look from the side and when he like takes his clothes off, then you can see, man, this guy is like dense and like
the fucking
thick.
fridge.
But from the front, he probably looks the same at 60, 66, 74, and I don't know, maybe even heavier. But which is why I really cannot tell what weight he is right now. But his training has been going insane, and like I'm really looking forward to see him put up something mean because, like you mentioned, Jason, I think I was there in 2018 Worlds. I think he got 5th place or something in the 74 class.
Yes, it was 5th, I think, or 4th even.
I think it was 4.
Yeah, it was 4th. Yeah, he came in 4th just behind Clinton Lee.
Yep. So yeah, I think it's mean, right? So definitely something to keep an eye on. I mean, it's like I say, it's a shame that Viv is not here, right? It'd be nice to see them go head to head, especially considering the fact John coaches Viv.
They always have really good bets.
Yeah. So they have like insane bets, and it would also be like a nice dynamic to see just how they like handle that, right? I mean, Viv will probably get Gary or some of his mates to handle him, but yeah, it's just like fun. It's like, John have like I have the secret knowledge to all your lifting and all of that. So I know what you do. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu. Yes. Rivalry is like, oh yeah, I know how to beat you, blah blah blah. But yeah, so John,
not this year, year.
Maybe unfortunately not this year, but yeah, going to be an exciting class to watch, obviously for the medals and just see how the crazy total John will put up. And yeah, on to the 74 class, which John decided to run away from. And unfortunately now it's wide open. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the 2018 Worlds where Kimberly Walford didn't compete as a 72 and Isabella von Eisenberg could finally win the 72 but decides to cut down the weight class.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So yeah, this kind of like reminds me a bit of that. Obviously last year in 2020.
Really did skip 2020.
Really did.
It was a long year.
2020 Nationals, like Chris Kennedy put up an insane total. I mean, his Auckland meet regionals was way bigger, right? So you will see like the Auckland record at 755, but the national record at like 720 or something like that.
729.
Yeah. So this year, with Chris transitioning to more like fighting sport.
Real sports.
Yeah. The 74 kilo class is like wide open. So yeah.
So give us your take on it, Kedrick, because you coach Ben and Gary, right? So
yeah.
I think you've probably got a little bit of an inside scoop here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think looking at it, actually, it's hard to say because I think Ben looks like a front runner, and he's like, as we've said, with many people, so fucking young and just on the come up. But I know Bala's been going really well. I don't know what Gary's been doing. So yeah, give us your take on that.
I don't follow EJ, so I don't know if any of you that follows EJ have any insight. Do let me know. But Ben's training has been good, right? Definitely hit a couple of PBs in this block. He is really young, right? He actually would be competing in the junior class, but I felt like I spoke to him and said that, hey, this is your opportunity. I want you to go into the opens, right, to challenge yourself, because I think that if you want to be a great athlete, you need like the athlete's mindset as well. So going into the 74 kilo weight class, competing with the big boys would give you that challenge, right? I want you to be able to know what it's like to push yourself, not forever stay in the juniors that you're going to win, right? So yeah, I think he's looking to put a good amount of kilos on his total, and definitely the thing is this, right? It's people always say like, oh yeah, this is your total, and if this person makes like 5 kilos off his total at nationals, they're like, why did this guy only make 5 kilos off their total? But the fact is that if you're going for, if your goal is to win, right, you want to prioritize the gold medal first, which means that you have to make smart attempts, even though it might be undershooting what you can do. Like when Ben competed in Canterbury regionals, he basically just went in. We didn't even have pressure because I don't know who EJ is. I don't follow him on Instagram, and I didn't know that they were even competing in the same competition, right? And we just said, Ben, just go have a good meet. That was our first meet together, and yeah, he put up a good meet, 6:17. Bala, right, used to coach Bala. He's been looking good. His squats has improved a lot, right? Bench has been moving quite well as well. I think that he has also, I don't think he's posted much about his deadlift, but I think all in all, prior to him taking reins of his own training, he was looking really good. I think he made the most improvement on his squat. So I'm definitely looking forward to see him squatting something big. And as for Gary as well, I think right now, like for Gary, his personal goal is to hit like 600 kilos. So I think that is what we are going to be like aiming towards. He didn't have the best of meets at Auckland. Yeah. And I think that he has like sustained some pain and niggles from then, right? So obviously he has the biggest bench, if I'm one of the biggest bench in this class, right? But so that is something he capitalize on and push a little bit more. And obviously his deadlift is slightly lower compared to the rest, but something to work on for the future. I am thinking that I would definitely back Ben and EJ to go head to head. I don't, because EJ has a really big pull, right? 272.5. That's pretty sick. And like I said, cliche as it may be, right? Going for the last pull, that is it all boils down to that. So Ben and EJ go head to head. I would say that Bala probably come third, Gary coming in at a close fourth. So that is what I think, right? I
reckon Bala will be the one to kind of push Ben. EJ has come down from 83.
Yep.
So I think that I think he's going to be around there. I mean, I don't fucking follow him or anything, but I've seen him lift over the last couple of years, and I think Bala's on the up for sure. As you said, his squat, like that 210 squat, there's going to be nowhere near what he squats. He'll be putting at least 10 kilos on that. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think Ben will win. I mean, his
training's been just going really, really well, like just based off his Instagram and stuff. Like he's riding the momentum of, well, basically just being young
and strong.
and strong. And it's, competing in the open class, like Kedrick, like you said, throwing his hat in the ring.
I mean, it may be the only time he competes is in open. So maybe when he actually grows out from the junior class, he will be an 83.
83, yeah. That's
so this
probably...
might be his only time to compete as a 74 kilo open would be actually competing, actually being a junior but competing in the open. Because I do think he's a tall guy and he's fairly lean and muscly. And I do think in the long-term goal would be to gradually move him up. But yeah.
Cool. All right. 83 kilo weight class. What do you think there, Paul? You awake?
Yo, I was just actually looking up. I was just trying to figure out because James has that big deadlift. I was just trying to work out why that was
DJ
on the record, because you can see that Ben Paul's 253, but I realized Ben's still a junior, right? So that would be a junior record.
Yeah, that's a junior record. So
83s, obviously at the top and by a huge margin is Tim Monaghan, one of New Zealand's best lifters, and will be, I would say, at the top for best male lifter by the end of it. With it coming in with a nominated 800 kilo total, which is obviously pretty ridiculous. And he's moved down to the South Island, so he doesn't have to travel quite as much as he would have if he was still up in the Waikato and Hamilton. So that might help him out a little bit there too.
Getting used to the training stimulus there should help him put up a pretty decent total for sure.
Like being cold as fuck.
Yeah, well, your train up in Auckland's fucking warm compared to down there.
But yeah, looking at it, the real fight is going to be between the next three, which is Jamie Campbell, Joel Larder, and Jack Tan. Joel's total that he's nominated there is he's been squatting high bar, so that squat is down, but the other two are about right.
I will, sorry, just to interrupt you there. I will clarify that I did these nominations and I didn't take what people nominated because most people put in the fucking wrong stuff. And I just took it from the last, I think, full year, like their best lifts over the last year. So that's what all those numbers are in case people are wondering why they all of a sudden changed.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing because it's kind of, it's a bit silly to just have random numbers in there, right?
Yeah.
Makes it more enjoyable doing this.
True.
So I think Jamie sits ahead above Jack, and then Jack's squat has looked pretty phenomenal since sort of beginning of this year. He came in with a huge squat at, he did Auckland's, right?
North Island, sorry.
And see if that is continuing on. His bench press is where he kind of gets caught up, just not quite up there with the others who are benching in that 160 range. And they all deadlift with a nominated 260. So Jamie Campbell sitting in ahead, nominated. What does Jamie's training look like? Anyone know? I don't know.
Well, I tried to know, but he hasn't, like, he posts sporadically on his story. I saw him post a 150 bench, which looked pretty easy. But I think he had a pretty horrific regional comp, but obviously that was long ago. Those numbers there that he's got up are predominantly from Nationals last year. So he hasn't posted anything basically in a long time, like on his actual page. So he's relatively unknown. It could be because things aren't going that well and he doesn't want to post it, or it could be because things are going really well and he wants to kind of keep his cards close to his chest. But I think, I mean, Joel's not going to be at those numbers just because he refuses to squat low bar at the moment for some reason. That's Joel, a bit odd. He'll pick up a bit of, actually the other thing there with Joel is he's like, that's from when he was weighing about 86 kilos, and
he's like 81, 80?
Yeah, he's about 80. No, he's less than that. He's about 80 odd. He does want to make his way to the 74 at some point, I think. So he's just trying to do that slow and taking his time with it, which is great, but it does affect his total a little bit. So I think it'll be more of a case of Tim obviously decimating the competition, and then Jamie and Jack kind of going after it. Jack's an interesting one. because he's got an epic squat, his bench sucks, and his deadlift has really good potential, but he can never like lock it out or hold on to it. And I think if he can pull together a pull and like if he can pull together the performance that he knows he can, like he's going to really give Jamie a good run for his money. Unless, of course, like Jamie's, like I said, put on some crazy gains since last year's Nationals, but it'll be a good one. You know, outside of that, you got Hayden Pritchard coming back. Hayden has kind of jumped back into powerlifting this season. He's a coach for RTS, Reactive Training Systems. He was a very well-established 93 kilo lifter, held records in that division for many years until Jamie kind of came through those ranks. And he's just kind of jumped back into it, and he's down at 83 because I think he was competing at around 85 for weightlifting. So, I mean, he's probably not going to push those guys, but at the same time, it's really cool to have him back on
in
the
game.
just back at Nationals and, you know, kind of just amongst it again. He also has a PhD in tapering, so expect him to come into the comp in very good nick.
And just quickly before we do move on, but Bradley and James, who are at the bottom, are actually both Special Olympics lifters. So at New Zealand Powerlifting Nats, we allow Special Olympics athletes to qualify at a lower qualifying total in order to compete. So it's sort of something that we were able to do to bring those guys into the big nationals so they can compete with everyone else.
100%.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a good time for them for sure.
Good experience for them when, like, I think James went to, but he go to some big competition not that long ago, and I'm sure comps like this really help him out. Do you know how many Special Olympics athletes we actually have at this comp pool? Because I think there's one or two in the 59s as well.
Yeah, I think there's a couple. I'm not 100% sure of the numbers, to be honest.
I think it'd be 4 or 5. I know we're missing. I've forgotten his name. David Bell.
Yes,
Yeah.
David's.
So he's not there, which is a little bit unfortunate because he's a gigantic squatter. But yeah, it's always cool to have those guys there. Yeah, it's a good experience for them as well. All right, 93s. Woo.
You coach most.
I just take this
Coach
home.
half of this bloody flight.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of glad. I actually have 10 people on this day, and I was originally going to compete on this day as well. And I'm like kind of glad that I just chose not to. / my hip decided not to let me.
Excuses.
Yeah, what a pussy. But anyway, 93 kilo weight class. I will say original reaction to this was disappointment in the fact that Geordie Kane wasn't there, and neither was Jordan Clout. So both, I mean, Jordan Clout's totaled over 700, and Geordie Kane, I think, came in at around 740 odd at South Islands, returning to the platform after ages off, I think, since 2019 Nationals, and put together a really good performance, and then didn't sign up for Nationals. So I was like,
Do you know
massive.
why?
I was actually going to message him, but I forgot. But it would have been really good to see him in there, like duking it out with Lee and Warren, who both come in with a nominated total at 750 kilos. But I mean, first and foremost, Jamie will win this. I think, you know, I was talking, you know, I hope he hears this, but I was talking in the gym about this today, because I got asked whether Jamie is, you know, if there is a potential for Jamie to lose. I think Lee has the potential to beat Jamie, right? But I think it would require him to be at a heavier body weight and have to be at a heavier body weight for a longer period of time. So I think Jamie will win this. You know, if something really bad happens, Lee will be there, don't get me wrong, and so will Warren. But it doesn't help those guys that Jamie's training is actually looking really good and like the best it has in ages. So Jamie, for those of you that don't know, total 800 at 100 kilos, or roughly around there at NZI. I tried to bully him into going up to 105 because I think, you know, he's been at 93 for a while, but his partner Ruby doesn't like his snoring around that sort of body weight. So he quickly vetoed that idea. Maybe sometime in the future, because he did end up
Get a CPAP machine, mate.
Yeah, he did end up actually breaking the 105 total record, which was pretty cool. But he comes back down. His body weight's actually really good at the moment. It's quite in check. Usually he comes into a competition at around 97 odd kilos and cuts about 4 kilos going into it. This time round, he's closer to 95 and a half, 96, like on a bad day.
That'll be a pretty cruisy cut then.
Yeah, so for him, it's going to be a very comfortable cut. I know he won't listen to this, so I'll just kind of give you an idea of what he's done. In training, I think he's squatted around I think the only heaviest thing he did is 282 thus far. And I think the bench has been about 167. Those have all both been very sub-maximal. We've been playing around with doing something a little bit different with his programming, and I've talked to Kedrick about this, but I won't go into it because it's like top secret stuff. But he pulled his heaviest deadlift yesterday, which is about 3 weeks out. Yeah, roughly 2.5 maybe. And he pulled 320, the easiest I've ever seen him pull 320. Like, it was like, if we were going to go one more week, we'd be putting on like 330. So I'm pretty excited to see what he can do in the deadlift. His best comp deadlift, like it says 322.5 there, but he did pull 326.5, I think, at NZI. So yeah, we'll see how he goes. I'd like him to go over what he did at NZI at 93. I think that's achievable, but the next few weeks are going to be pretty important and kind of give us an idea of how that goes. Like last year with him, I was a little bit disappointed. He was definitely disappointed. He had a very good prep and things just didn't come together for whatever reason. We think maybe the weight cut, but just wasn't quite there. A lot of those really top level lifters last year at Nationals didn't perform. So we're hoping to kind of make a bit of amends for that this year. So that'll be a good one. But yeah, look for him to go around 300 in the squat, 75-ish in the bench press, and we'll see what happens on the deadlift. But outside of that, you got Lee and Warren there. I haven't seen much from Warren. He rarely posts anyway. But Lee's looking pretty good as well. His body weight's coming back up. I think he's in about 90 odd kilos at the moment. A little bit of a faux pas with the bench last week, but I'm not too concerned about it. So I'd be looking at him to surpass those numbers. And, you know, to be fair, it's going to be pretty close. If either of these two guys kind of slip up, then the other one's going to pip them. I mean, last year at Auckland's, Warren beat Lee, and then, 10 weeks later, Lee beat Warren. So this is almost like round 3. And it's going to be, what's like Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier.
Oh, man, I hope nobody breaks nothing, though.
Yeah, so hopefully no one breaks their ankle.
Hopefully.
But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But it would have been nice, like I said, to have Geordie in there as well.
We're in the mix, yeah.
It's kind of funny with those two, right? That you've got Lee, who's constantly trying to get up to 93. Well, sorry, his coach is trying to get him constantly up to 93, and you've got Warren, who sits, well above 93 and has some pretty rough weight cuts. So.
I think that was the difference maker at Nationals last year as well, to be honest.
Yeah, Warren definitely had a bit of a rough one by the sounds of things going into Nationals last year.
Mm.
Yeah, and then you got like a little bit of a cluster after that between, I don't want to go too deep into it because we can go on forever, but there is a good cluster around that 680 sort of mark with Marius, Robin, and Jono, and Philip. So look for those guys to
have a bit of a tussle there.
It's a tussle for place, which I know they will be, and they'll all be looking to try and get as high on the rankings as possible. And some of those guys will be looking to tick off 700 for the first time. But also in line with Hayden Pritchard, another PhD coming back to the game. We have Eric Helms back in the mix, so he's kind of taking it back on to do some powerlifting this year. And I don't know, Kedrick, have you talked to him about it? How's he feeling? I know he's kind of looking to go back to bodybuilding afterwards, but is he excited?
Yeah, he is. I think that his training has been picking up a lot. Going into Auckland regionals, he had a slight pec injury, and he thought that he wouldn't be able to do well, but he did pretty decent. His squat has improved quite a bit. This is based off his Instagram. His bench has improved a lot as well, and his pec hasn't been acting up. His deadlift, not close to 260, but maybe he just gets a lot from his taper. But I think training overall has been going really well for him. if you all follow him on Instagram, if you look at his training, he actually has a very pretty low volume approach, like top set back offs, and then just like increase the back off set by 1 each week, and then taper, cut it into half, drop, then repeat, rinse, repeat, and then he just does a whole bunch of like bodybuilding stuff. But yeah, everything it's good with Eric. He's been healthy, right? And I think like that is the most important. So the thing you also all have to know is that like I said, they are like seasoned competitors. They have been here like in like what, 2015 or something like that. 2014.
Both Hayden and Eric would have been at 2014 Nats, and so same with Jamie actually.
Yeah.
Did you know that Jamie has the most raw? Well, as far as I can see, and if someone's going to correct me, that'd be great. He has the most raw, like open titles out of, or just titles in general. I think actually probably not open, but out of any NZPF lifter, because the Raw Nationals has only been around since 2013.
And there you go.
What Eric really will win is the post-competition post-down winning. Is that what he's really going for?
Ooh,
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Robin Viss is fucking jacked.
Lee and Warren are pretty jacked too.
Bro, this Robin dude, you should see the quads on the guy. They're fucking huge. Let's just say it won't be Angus.
We can all
agree on George coming in with the post.
Big Georgie, he'll be in the mix, mate. Shirt off. Come on. All right, let's move on from that shit.
Friday, here we go.
You know what's even better? The fact that I didn't compete would have made it. If I had, it would have made it 15 people, which would really annoyed the organisers.
Helping everyone out.
Even more.
And Jason would definitely win the post down.
100%.
Yeah, doubt it. All right, so going into
Friday night.
Yeah, Friday night. How good. 6 p.m.
The bar will be open. Amber's making sure the bar will be open to watch her lifting.
Yeah, that'll be good. So first off, we have the 84s. We've got 4 lifters in that. This is what I would say would be the tightest female class that there is. Yeah, I mean, what did we say before? 69 is very close, but the 84s is just like, I can't pick it. Yeah, I think so. So we've got, for those of you that are unaware, we've got Nicole nominated first from her 76 kilo total at 470.5. After her, we have Amber Russell at 458.5. And then after that, we have Claire Noonan. Sorry, I don't know how to say that properly. At 458. So Amber and Claire are within 0.5 kilos of each other. And Nicole's got a 12 kilo lead there. So, I mean, like the way I see it, Nicole's looking very good. She had a very good run into North Islands, tried to get her back down a little bit, I think with some help from Chung, decided to veto that idea. And she's gone back up to just going through with 84. I think that's the right decision.
Yeah, agreed.
The last thing we wanted to do was for her to miss weight and then like have to lift as a guest. I think that would really put a dampener on the experience. You know, she kind of came back to lifting this year with the goal of just enjoying it. So I, kind of reminded her of that. And I think, that might have been a bit of a catalyst for her decision. Plus, the 84 is a bit more of a competitive weight class as opposed to the 76, where it would have been a bit of a smoke show there. Even if she didn't been a case of like make a total, and walk away with it. So I think the allure of PBs as well was another factor. But anyway, she'll come in, she'll squat the house down. I mean, she squatted 190.5 at North Islands, and it was comfortable, very comfortable. She always tapers very well with her squats, so I would love to go to 200, but I think it's going to be about making a total. This is really like one of those like competitions where like Nicole has a squat, Amber has the bench, and Claire has the same thing. Yeah. So like, alongside that, Amber's got a ridiculous bench press. She's got a nominated bench there of 116.5, but she benched 120 at the NZI, which was pretty comfortable, although she didn't bother to make weight because that wasn't really the idea for the comp. So we're looking for her to go over 120 and regain some kilos on the bench press. And then you've got Claire, who doesn't post a lot. I feel like a lot of people are kind of been ghosting Instagram just like in the lead up to this competition, but she's still very new to the sport. Actually, yeah. So that 187, I think, was a second attempt at regionals, if I'm not mistaken. It was like, I think I actually wrote it down. So give me 1 second here. She said, oh, sorry, she didn't say. So she put a, like, I think 20 odd kilos on her deadlift in like a year last year, like going from whatever comp she did to qualify to nationals. And she's basically just been gaining at a ridiculous rate of knots. I think actually it was the squat that was the one that she put on about 20 kilos since nationals last year.
Well, since Southern Champs last year.
Was it 20? What did she squat at nationals last year?
150.
And then she's 20 and a half gained on that for regionals this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, I mean, fucking.
Well, not to mention she started at 125.
Well,
So
that's a lot of gains.
In a year, that's
Yeah.
50
So
almost
I
50
think,
kilos.
if I'm not mistaken, Claire also does CrossFit. So I'm assuming like the CrossFit stimulus is coming down, powerlifting stimulus is coming up. So who knows? I think she's the unknown there. She could show up and have like a ridiculously high nominated total based off of openers, and she's got the biggest pool. So we'll see. I mean, from my perspective, like I'd be coaching Nicole and Amber, and it's all.
And I think Nicole will be sort of gunning for the squat record as well, I would think.
Yeah, the squat record is 190. So she'll be looking to pip that. But more than anything, man, we're going to be looking to build a total. I mean, that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, to obviously first. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll I mean, I think she'll probably pip that maybe even on a second. But yeah, like for those two, it'll be a case, and they pull very similar. It'll be a case of building the subtotal and just doing what they can to kind of fend off Claire.
You've got the ultimate subtotal warriors in those two.
Yeah, I mean,
really.
If both these girls go, all three of these girls go 6 for 6, it's going to be fucking game on.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think, that's going to be the real key, right? And
yeah,
probably one part is that bench press is always a tough one to get just the right amount of kilos out of it. And Amber's got that advantage of chipping, right? And then Nicole can chip the squat, and that's probably where Claire loses out, because that deadlift is 205 is the record. So potentially she's put that much on, but those two are going to have those chips. That could be definitely big in the end, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Thanks for reminding me about that.
No worries.
I mean, I was going to do that anyway. But yeah, that'll be one to watch. I think Claire's bench, unless it's gone up heaps, will kind of hold it back just a little bit.
Just a tad, right? Yeah.
Just a tad.
Yeah. Yes. So that'll be
got
good.
84 pluses?
Yep. So
That's true. That's a pretty tight 84.
I wouldn't read too much into that. I think it'll be a bit of the Jana show. Like Jana's 465 total there is based off of like her I think it's based off of her actually benching 90 something kilos or something like that. She seems to be like over the last couple of years always inhibited on one lift. So something's always been down. And if she can put together like a full performance, then I think she's, and I mean, her training looks pretty good at the moment. I haven't seen everything. But if she can pull together like a full-on performance and get all three lifts going, she's going to be pretty good. So like last year at Nationals, she only squatted 180, but she benched 120 and pulled 165. Whereas like regionals this year, she squatted 195, but only benched 80 and pulled 167.5. Whereas in the past, she has pulled 170 and had a crack at 180. So if she can pull it together and have that super meet, then she's going to be looking pretty good.
Yeah, definitely helps. Like you said, just got to put it all together. And I don't think that bench will be that low. After what I've normally seen from her.
80 kilos is like 45 kilos sub her max.
I don't know much about Maria.
Maria's a Northland lifter. I actually coach someone that she trains with, and apparently she's been looking pretty good. I mean, she's got the big pull, and that'll be what she's kind of relying on.
Banking on the big pull.
I just think Jana's, and you know, Jana won last year. She won the year before. She's got the experience. She's got the wins under her belt. I think it'll just be a little bit much. Amy will be in the mix as well. Don't count her out, and she's got to be.
Yeah, Amy's coming back from a broken hand.
Really?
Hand injury. Yeah, she didn't compete at regionals, so I know her deadlift's been coming up. I'm pretty sure she deadlifted like 185. That would look real easy. So her training's coming back, but yeah, I'm not too sure about the double lifts.
Anyway, that'll be a good little Friday night session, I reckon.
Yeah. Hopefully that one we get lots of people there having fun.
Yeah, because all those like
watching
big, densely populated classes will be done by then, eh?
Yeah, all the 83s and 93s will be ready.
All 83s, 93s will be done, and they'll probably just be chilling in the area, getting a bit of food, and then it'd be a good way to definitely finish off the night session for sure. And I'm sure the girls will appreciate the hype from the crowd, given the fact that it's going to be a little bit of a tight race there with both those classes.
Oh man, now I'm excited for that.
Right.
105
on to the last day.
This is your class. First of all, an 11 a.m. start. How good is that?
I'm not happy about that.
You're not happy?
I've never competed in the morning.
Oh, it's 11 a.m.
Yes,
it's
early.
It's prime time.
I've never competed early, mate.
Well, originally it was going to be like 9, and then I think it was Amber, because we kind of ran through the timetable. She's like, "Nah, let's just start late on the Saturday."
That's a very good call, because it's a long week, and by that time we'll want to sleep.
And usually there's a social event on the Friday as well.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So all the big guys have to go home, and everyone else just does other stuff.
Social on the Friday.
Yeah.
It's Invercargill, mate. What are you talking about?
There'll be Airbnbs to populate.
Fair enough.
So yeah, What are you seeing there, Paul? Talk us through your class.
So you got Maui, who I think will run away with it in the end. Just his squat is just so good that he has all 3 lifts. You'll see Aaron, who has a big bench and a big deadlift, but doesn't quite have the squat, who's coming nominated in second. And you got Daniel Yaska, who, from all accounts, his training's gone really well, but his bench drops him down. But Daniel, he's squatting up towards that 300 kilo mark and deadlifting around there too. So it's going to be a good battle. Aaron just keeps getting stronger and stronger. What did he do that novice comp last year? Was it, Jason?
Yeah, it was in March in 2020, just before lockdown.
And he's put on, I couldn't even tell you, but it would be a heck of a lot on his total, and he just keeps getting stronger, as he kind of understands more and more of this training. I remember, was it 2018, the juniors, where Maui and Daniel and
Angus
and the juniors were going head to head with the squat bench.
That was a pretty good.
That was such a fucking good fight to watch. Just sitting in that amphitheater, in 2018,
in Northland,
was so good. And those guys were just breaking records after breaking records. We actually talked about this in the gym tonight as well. It was just such a good session to watch, and it's good to see Daniel back, because he was in Melbourne, I think.
Melbourne.
So it's good to see him back in the fold there. And obviously this year's a bit of we'll be missing Angus Mackay a little bit, but if I know Angus, I have a sense that he'll be there spotting this session.
Yeah.
Actually,
I can look it up.
The volunteer list is out already, so
he's deemed as one of the safest to have behind you.
Oh yeah, NZ's greatest spotter. But yeah, that'll be a good flight. How are you feeling, Paul? Making your way down there at the 105?
Yeah, going down to 105 since basically I first started powerlifting. So it's been pretty good. It's been nice to lose a bit of weight. Probably was now this training cycle a little heavier, which has helped my training a lot. So I'm looking to definitely put a fair bit on that total. Bench especially has been going really well. It's definitely it's going to be close, I think, between, there's a few of us there, sort of Luke, myself and Liam. I think Liam's training's going pretty good. So I definitely need as many kilos in the bench as humanly possible to keep up with these guys who can all deadlift.
It just sounds like
300
the longer and longer this recap goes, the more I hear it's like bench. And it's ironic because Jason's here.
Kills me.
He's probably dying inside. It's like, oh fuck, more bench.
Interesting there as well. We'll see Eddie Dawkins in the mix.
Yeah.
Former Olympic silver medalist. And if you were watching the cycling last night, you would have seen him on TVNZ going through that, just like kind of running sumo through that. Scotty Stevenson, that is, through the presentation of that. So obviously a actual athlete coming into the fold, which is very interesting. He is a little bit raw, and by a little bit I mean a lot. I think he's just had a kid recently as well, so I don't think he'll challenge Maui, but he might challenge top 3 if everything goes well. He's a big deadlifter, and you would think, actually, I know he can squat more than that. Like his squat, he had issues with depth, but he squatted upwards of like 265, and I mean, he's a fucking Olympic cyclist in the sprint. Like he's gonna squat like 300 kilos one day. He probably already has. You know what I mean? So like expect that to be a little bit lower than it actually will be on the day. But I think execution will be key for him. Also, Luke there will be looking to pull 300. That's going to be an interesting one. I will say, if you are listening, Luke, please make sure to lock out your deadlifts. I've been a little bit concerned about those. It doesn't look like you need to do much, but just lock it out a little bit more, and the judges will be very happy with that. And I think if he can do that, like in all seriousness, he'll be looking to pull well over 300, which will be awesome because he's just jumped up from 93, and I think he seems to be responding quite well to sitting at 105. And looks like probably the nicest guy in all of the NZPF, so I hope he does well.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like you said, he's going up from the 93, so it doesn't have to worry about cutting or anything like that. It's just right in the gains at the moment. So it's going to be pretty good. It'll be a really good, it will be a good sort of battle in that. I think Maui is too far ahead, but Aaron, Daniel, and Eddie Dawkins will all be right there fighting it out. So it'll be some good scraps there for sure.
Yeah, on Maui's performance real quick, he's had a bit of a rough start to the year with a back injury, which really kind of threw him off with his squat and deadlift training, but it's actually really come together quite nicely over the last couple of weeks, and actually probably over the last training cycle post South Islands, and he'll always get up for it on the day, especially when it comes to a national level event. So I would expect him to be pushing that 800 mark if all things go according to plan. It would be the goal anyway, with really like no one probably pushing him too hard. So yeah, I think that'll be good. But anyway, shall we move on to the 120 class?
Last one of the day.
Yeah, well, it's 2 classes there, but last flight.
So you got Theo and Phil who are equal.
Basically the exact same total there. So that's definitely always going to be a nice one to watch, especially with the big boys being able to sort of jostle for first place. I'm sure that's going to be quite a sight.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you got to put your money on Theo, right? He's 20, very young nonetheless. I think, he was a sub-junior last year. And like, if you've seen the dude, like, I reckon he is like twice my size upstairs and downstairs, but his midsection is like smaller than mine. So basically he's bigger than me, but I'm fatter than him. The dude is a physical freak. I think he comes from like I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think he comes from like a throwing background. Which would make sense because he's like a physical freak, and like his numbers are just going up and going up. And I mean, there's a lot of guys that we've talked about to keep an eye on, but he's definitely one if he sticks with it. I mean, 272, 165, and 302 at at age of 19 or 18. Like, that's fucking ridiculous. So I'd expect him to be putting more on his total there. And he's coached by Brett Gibbs as well. So again, he's going to have a good handler. He's going to have a good game plan, and he's got the athleticism to match it as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Phil Welsh there, I don't know much about Phil. I think he's come from like a benching background, like bench only background, perhaps. I might be completely wrong with that, but nonetheless, he's on the same total there, so we definitely can't count him out. But you just got to check out the physique of Theo, because he's a freak, and in the best way possible. So it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, I know we're going on here a little bit, and I'll try and speed this up. But what do you guys think about Seb? What do you think is going to happen? I see he pulled 375. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, and it was clean, real clean for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what he did I think it was at North Island. Was that North Islands he competed? Yeah.
Yes.
Was the 390.5 that he put on, was that the biggest ever deadlift in New Zealand, irrespective of bar or federation?
No. Things pulled 400.
That was recently,
recently.
Cole pulled it at NZ Open, didn't he?
The Wolfpack Invitational.
But didn't he do? No, what did he do at the
NZ Open last year?
Open? Yeah,
I think it was 390.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Either way, some big weight's going to go down in the deadlift, and I mean, it's a great way to finish off the competition. I'll say it time and time again, because every time I look at this session, I do cry a little bit inside, because I would be so happy and just I could retire in a very good place, and this would just round out the competition beautifully if we had some of the heavy hitters that world powerlifting have, because this would be just such a fucking awesome way to finish out the competition with guys like Stanley Cocker, James Tavanga, Connor Stanfield, and Joe. Like, if we had them and Seb and Terry as well, like, how awesome would that? The crowd would just, like, everyone would come and watch that. So I know that's not going to happen, and it's a pipe dream. But I think
one could dream.
I think it's just good to note those guys, because they are very good, strong, established lifters, and they do compete drug free as well, which is, kind of aligns with our values. So I think it'll be great. It'll be good to see Seb put up something awesome. And I think, as Chung said before, he'll definitely get a kick up the ass by whatever Terry does. So I think he'll be looking to target that.
What is the biggest total so far in New Zealand, like in the 120 plus?
Joe, I think, has totaled 980 something.
Yeah, because he squatted 383, which is so much more than what the other guys have been able to do.
Yeah, 965.5.
Damn, that's bonkers.
Yeah, that was 383, 232, 350. So needless to say, it was a bit of a loss, kind of, missing him at Nationals. But Joe's a good guy, and he's still heavily in the mix in powerlifting, which is still cool to see. But Seb's going to do a good job at closing it out there. I mean, who can forget Nationals in 2019 where he pulled 380, was it 380 and a half to round out the competition, and like literally everyone was standing on their feet, like filming it. It was fucking cool. So hopefully we get to see something like that again. And I think the 375 that he pulled in training
it's just
would
like a little bit of a teaser.
Yeah, I think that's
what will happen.
Some shit's about to go down.
Hopefully he doesn't actually bring the house down. Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Love to see somebody pull 400.
Oof.
Jeez, don't tease me.
Particularly on a stiff bar as well.
What is the deadlift world record for the 120?
398.5.
Who's that?
Right.
That's
Ray
Williams
from
2018 Worlds. But 2018 Worlds.
So there's no 400 yet.
Well, Jesus Oliveras has pulled 400 in USAPL comp. But I mean, he doesn't lock it out, so it was probably crucial. That's fired. Anyway, what are we thinking overalls?
Evie and Tim, no chance of anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, it's probably going to be those two. I don't see any way that it wouldn't be both of them.
Yeah.
Same.
Because those two out total everyone else almost
Yeah, basically.
at the almost the lightest weight class.
At the lightest weight class, yeah.
But like Evie has the second highest nominated total as a 57. And then Tim has the second highest total with an 83.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would honestly really like to see the best overall lifter one day not go to Evie and Tim.
I mean,
even though they are competing, so not because they are not competing,
Yeah.
I mean, if Tim had a terrible day, and I mean
horrible, that it has to be one of those days where he literally just.
Or if he did what he did at NZI, which was I think him just kind of sending it for the thing of sending it, which I doubt he'll do again. But if he did that and Jamie had his best day, it would be somewhat close. I did the calculations, I think. I don't know, someday. But it's we're talking 1-2 IPF points in it. But Tim goes into these things wanting to win the overall, so that's not going to happen.
Yeah, the only
There's
chance.
one way, and that is if we get Brett back, then he can win it instead.
Well,
let's ask.
Yeah, let's ask him. Let's ask him when you see him.
The only chance was blown apart by me last year at Nationals.
Yeah. Give it a shot.
Yeah, we gave it a shot.
we put in a record that's not a record.
Yeah,
and questioned every lift.
Yeah, I was being an asshole and use. So I'm the opposite of Gavin Aiden. And I use every legal method. And I don't have to pay $100 USD, so it's fine.
True.
I don't have to pay money.
That is true. That is
zero
true.
fees.
It's much cheaper.
But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I think it'll be interesting. So what I think is most interesting is Joel and I have previewed these competitions for the last 2 years, maybe even 3 years. And they do a similar thing on King of the List for Worlds and for USAPL Nats. And everyone always has these gigantic hopes about everyone hitting massive PBs on the for these guys, it's their biggest stage possible. And it never kind of comes into fruition. So I'm just intrigued to see what people can put up, keen to see PBs, and just kind of keen to see how it goes. And I think as a bit of a words of wisdom, people going into this competition, and I'm looking at those 93 juniors, don't be too ambitious. Take what you can do. Don't look at what you did at training. Just take what's there on the day. I think if people can do that, then they'll find themselves in a very good position to be able to put themselves as high up the rankings as possible. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want out of our nationals. We don't want necessarily people just going for PBs and just sending it. We want
competition.
Yeah, we want competition. That's the idea. So hopefully some people treat it like that. And I think the more people that do treat it like that, the better these things get.
Definitely 100% agree.
100%.
Same.
I think for me, I think the biggest part is if you're down there, be at the lifting, support everyone there. We're in a smaller town, come and support your friends or the people that the people you've seen on Instagram. Come in, support, have big crowds, because if you want to see those big lifts, the easiest way for that is to have a massive crowd cheering you on. Tell you what, there'll be some big numbers being pulled. So, come in and enjoy the whole thing of powerlifting, not just your session.
Just not your session, especially if you're there and you have the opportunity to, not just lift, but be there a couple of days early. I know many of us Aucklanders and potentially those traveling from North Island in general will definitely be down there a couple of days earlier before your session, hopefully, not pulling a team anime and rocking up the 2 hours before your weigh-in.
You have to change that team name if they don't make it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But in saying that, I think resonating what Paul said there, it's everyone's obviously going down wanting to compete, but I'm sure, like myself and Paul, we don't just want to compete to an empty room. That will be pretty depressing.
Yeah.
It's like, just get amongst it.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's
Not gonna
like
regret it.
I think that's like the perfect way to close this out. Obviously, a great message from none other than the NZPF president. Come down, support your lifters, support the community. If you want to watch the sport grow, you actually have to be a part of the community to see it grow. As an outsider who has only been in NZPF for the past 2 years, I can say that even though, like, people may have perceptions on like, oh, powerlifters are this way. Man, that's completely not true at all. Like, I'm probably among all 4 lifters here, I'm like literally the weakest lifter by points for sure. Without a doubt, 100%. But we don't really judge you by how much you lift. At least not openly. Jason probably secretly judges me in his sleep.
He probably does.
Yeah.
He goes to sleep. Is like, these people.
Yeah. So
these quans
Can't put up a damn.
Can't put up a damn bench total.
But yeah, so I guess that's all, right? For all the listeners out there, especially to this, mainly going to be NZPF competitors, wishing all of you all the best. Hope your last couple of weeks of training goes well. Depends when you hear this, and hopefully you make weight, have a fun time at nationals, and continue to stay in the sport. And to all our listeners, make sure you share, subscribe, like it on whatever medium you are currently listening or watching to, whether it's YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify. And once again, thank you very much to the Clarke brothers for joining us for our longest episode yet.
To ramp it all up for nationals.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, guys.